Hey, Tubes. Jonathan's wrong hair, tooth, and a budget. So, I just have a bit of a concern. So, I also don't know where to start, so expect some rambling and a lot of uhs and so and, et ceteras. You're probably used to it at this point. But anyway, so, just real quick, I have a nice little. Oh, not going to show you exactly what I have here, but, oh, I got some things. But, you could have months of food, you could have body armor, you could have, water filtration. Where am I going to go with it? I'm a poor person, you know? Like, I live in Massachusetts. There's no land. You can't just go in the woods and, stake up and hang out. You're like, what are we going to do? Like, you got to pay taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come get you. So what are we going to do? Like, we can't, if we can't make any money to pay any bills, where are we going to live? Like they're already coming out with all these homelessness laws, where if you don't have a house, which means if you're not paying to live somewhere, which is how they're going to determine this. If you're not on record as paying to live somewhere, you're going to be homeless, and they're just going to round you up. Like, it doesn't matter if you go out into the woods with all your friends; they're gonna find you very easily. Your breath is going to be, like they're going to be able to get chemical, analysis. Other than the fact that they have drone, all of our faces are already on, digital recognition, our voices, our DNA, probably everything. If they want to find us, they can. I'm not trying to be all negative. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. This is a legitimate concern. If I got to hit the road, I got no road to hit. I got nowhere to go. Other than the fact that I'm not going to abandon my elderly parents to starve to death. Some of us, like, we can't cut and run. Like, we could, but then we just, be hiding out in the woods in a hole, and it's only a matter of time. Like, how are you going to farm? How are we going to get water? How are we going to hunt? Like, you're not going to be allowed to do these things. They're going to be scanning it's going to be very easy to send out drones to just go over the wilderness and look for anything, out of the norm, Like, yeah, can I feed myself and, like, water myself for a year and, get shot in the chest with a, assault rifle bullet and survive? Yeah. Well, I need that for that. But, where am I going to do it? Like, where? And I've, people, networking, this, that, find people with the like minds, but, like, we're going to run out of resources. We're not the rich ones. We're not the ones with the land and the bunkers. And yes, there's a few, good Christian people that have land, that have the resources, but the fact is if we're not paying our taxes, it's a non-point. That's why there's the whole tax system. At any point, they could come down on anybody. So it's just like, you could have food, water, body armor and bullets all day, and like where are you gonna go with them? What are you gonna do with them? And as far as, like, gold and silver and stuff, if it's a digital economy, it's a non-point. If they only accept, some sort of meme coin, and you go in with the $10,000 worth of gold, it's a non-point. They're gonna be like, oh, what the hell you want me to do with this? It's only worth something if it's agreed that it's worth something, which is how our whole dollar works, the whole fiat. That's how a fiat currency works. But it's how most currencies work. There's something is given value, you know. So people, oh, we'll trade. We'll use the gold to trade with ourselves, the silver to trade with ourselves. I don't want gold or silver. What the hell am I going to do with gold and silver? I want food, water, and tools. So we're gonna trade stuff we already have, or trade stuff we like. Oh, I got a spare hammer. What are you gonna get like? Okay, I'll trade you my one of my hatchets for like like a couple weeks worth of food. Like what? I don't know. It's a nice idea. Obviously, I want us to not. I'm still not gonna take any of this crap. I'm not going to take part in it, but that still leaves me with little to no options. I'm just aware of it, and I want answers would be nice too, but at the very least people should be prepared for we're not going to have anywhere to go. And if we find somewhere to go, they're going to find us. I've talked to people that live locally, and they're like, oh, just there's a woods down, blah blah blah. They got there's berries or whatever. It's like you're not the only person that knows about that. Your little berry patch in the middle of the woods that only you know about is going to be found out, and they're not going to be berries there anymore because they're going to be when people are starving. They're not going to think, oh, I'll just leave this for everyone. No, they're gonna take all of it and probably rip the berry bush out of the ground to try to grow it and kill it. They're gonna intend to bring it somewhere and transplant it so they can have it, and they're gonna kill it. And there's all that's just gonna happen. And anything naturally growing anywhere, it's just gonna be inundated with part-time survivalists who know, oh, there's this, that, blah 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 blah. You're not the only one that knows. All right. I'm not special. You're not special. We're not geniuses. We're not privy to any sort of secret information. And then the fact is if we know, then, worse people know. Because contrary to popular belief, the people in charge are not retarded. They just pretend to be. And then people are so stupid that they think, oh, yeah, those morons in government doing it again, letting in all these blah, 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 letting blah, blah, blah. It's by design. It's on purpose. All right? So don't be like, you don't get into a position of power from being stupid. You do get into a position of power from knowing people, from being born of certain bloodlines, blah, 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 blah. But they're not dumb. Obviously, they're not dumb. They run everything. Could you run a country? Could you? Maybe a town. Some of you. Ain't none of you running a country. But anyway, I don't know. It's just like, I've just been, hearing people talk about, oh, well, we'll talk to each other. We'll have a community. We'll do this. We'll do that. Where are we going to do it? I could have, a big stack of whatever, it's not going to change the fact that I can't bring it anywhere. I don't have a, I don't have a off-roading vehicle. I can't afford anything like that. I'm paying for 2 cars at once because my old car died. I'm paying $560 a month for a Toyota Corolla. All right, because I'm paying for 2 cars because I'm a poor person. I got screwed. I got talked into taking both my payments and rolling it into one. So now it's one payment, and guess what? Now I can't refinance my car because the payments I'm making are worth more than the car is. So I'm stuck paying $560 a month for like the next 15 years or something. Cool, huh? So, that. I think that might have had a point, or maybe I'm venting. I don't know. I forget. It's a really sore topic for me, because I'm a poor person. I was talking to this guy the other day, talking about being homeless because there's in Massachusetts there's little homeless encampments and stuff, and I was talking about how I spent years living in my car. If you've been a friend of the channel for a while, hi, thank you, love you. I can't Does anyone else have a problem where they can't not sound sarcastic? Like, I don't know. I got to catch myself and be like, I know I sound sarcastic, but I promise I'm not sarcastic right now. But and I was working full time. It's not like I was sitting in my car getting high. It's like I had a job and like I still couldn't afford to live anywhere. Working full time, living in my car next to where I work because I can't afford to get a place to live. Still can't. I'm paying rent, but it's not my own place. Obviously. But anyway, I don't know. It's just like just realistically, where are we gonna go and what are we gonna do? The only thing we could actually do rather than have pockets of resistance would be to take some land with altitude and hold it. But we're not going to be allowed to do that because they would just laser us, or like whatever, or worse, who knows? I don't know. Like I said, it just comes off as very negative, but it's a legitimate concern. You know, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? There's no free land. You can't if you can't pay your taxes, they're gonna come get you. All right, not the vast majority of us do not have enough money to own our land and own our stuff. And even if you do own that house and own that land and all that, you're still paying taxes on it. You're still paying taxes on everything you own all the time. So they're going to come looking for that money, and they're not going to accept gold for it. So, I don't know. Anyone else have any ideas, For like peace of mind, it's like for at least, if they, shut the lights off or whatever, I got food and water and stuff, or, at least, water filtration. But, no one can make water. Can you make water? I can't make water. No one can make water. Anyway,